ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमो ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिन्निति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषशून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। मूकं करोति वाचालं पंगुं लंघयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं दीनतारणम्। हरे कृष्ण। Welcome back to this episode of the Mahabharata. In the last few episodes, we have been seeing the origins of the Yadava dynasty, beginning from Lord Brahma, his son Marichi, Marichi's son Kashyapa. From Kashyapa came Vivaswan. Vivaswan's son was Tudyumna. When he became a girl, he married the son of the moon god Somadeva's son Buddha, and they begot a son Pururava. Pururava's son was Ayu. Ayu's son was Nahusha, and Nahusha's son was Yayati, and Yayati's son was Yadu. Now, how did Yadu give rise to the Yadava dynasty, and what connection does the Yadava dynasty have with the Kaurava dynasty is what we will be discussing about. To begin today's episode, we will take you to a time when, at the beginning of the Dwapara Yuga, Mother Earth was feeling overburdened due to the increase in the number of demoniac kings. Kings who were ruling over this earth, and their spirit of ruling over was not that of stewardship. Generally, in Vedic principles, the kings are supposed to rule over the earth according to the principles of dharma. And the principles of dharma dictate that a king has to act as a representative of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu. And his prime duty, the primary duty of a king, was to ensure that all the citizens are able to gradually elevate themselves in spiritual life. Economic welfare, security, their health, their law and order, judiciary, all these things were secondary duties of the king. The most primary was the spiritual welfare of the citizens. If we look at it, it's something like long-term planning. In the Vedas, there are two things. One is called Shreyas, another is called Preyas. Preyas refers to immediate benefit. I want to eat something which will be very tasty for me. But Shreyas means long-term welfare. The doctor says, no, you cannot eat any fried food stuff now because you have got typhoid. Until you get cured, you should not eat any fried food stuff. Now, if you look at prayers, no, if I taste that nice samosa, I'll feel so much happy. So let me eat. If I do that, then what will happen is long term, it will affect my health badly. Therefore, we have to consider the Shreyas. Prayers in this material world is immediate benefit of my sense gratification. Shreyas means long term benefit, which is my spiritual welfare, by which after giving up this body, I can get a elevated body by which I can go back to Godhead, and I can become free from the real problems of this material world of birth, death, disease and old age. The dharmic kings were supposed to take care of the Shreyas of the citizens, the long-term welfare of the citizens, without of course neglecting the prayers also to some extent. But their main focus would be on the Shreyas. Now the kings at that during the Dwapara Yuga, they had forgotten their primary duty, and they started focusing only on economic development, how to improve the methods of sense gratification, how to increase the comforts of life, conveniences of life, how to expand my empire, how to subjugate other kings and get more, loot them, and from their wealth increase the economic welfare of my citizens. These were the kind of thinking, the overall spirit amongst the royal class during that time. And because of this, the kings were spending heavily on their military infrastructure, increasing their military power, modernizing their army, and these kind of things. Their whole focus had shifted from the spiritual welfare to the material welfare of the people. When this happened, Mother Earth started feeling overburdened. Mother Earth can sustain any amount of human population as long as they are spiritually oriented. The moment we deviate from the spiritual orientation, Mother Earth starts feeling the burden of maintaining us. Just like for any mother, if the child grows up into a good citizen, into an honest and caring son or daughter who takes care of the parents, who does his duties very nicely, then what happens is the mother feels very happy to have such children. She can have hundreds of such children and she will not feel any pain in giving birth and in nurturing and in maintaining those children. But even if she has only one child who grows up and becomes a debauchee, he doesn't take care of the parents, he becomes an antisocial element, then the mother feels very burdened. What pain I have taken to give birth to this child, and he has become like this. Better I would not have given birth to him. This is natural. Similarly, when the overall human society is oriented towards spiritual welfare, spiritual activities, then what happens is Mother Earth feels very enthused to support the human population by giving ample amount of food grains, ample fruits, vegetables, everything will be in abundance. The moment the civilization turns away from Krishna consciousness, away from spiritual life, Mother Earth starts feeling overburdened. She feels she does not feel encouraged to produce more food grains. Naturally, droughts will come. There will be floods. There will be earthquakes. All these kind of natural disasters start becoming prominent. Now, Mother Earth, when she started seeing that kind of situation happening in Dwapara Yuga, she approached Lord Brahma and she went in front of him and she was literally weeping. My Lord Brahma, look at what has happened to the human civilization. They are all having such a wonderful, beautiful human form of life which they should be engaging in the service of Lord Vishnu, in the devotional service of Lord Vishnu. Instead of that, they are engaged simply in material sense gratification, economic development, these kind of temporary activities which is destroying the whole value of the human form of life. So please, we need a solution for this. Like this, she came crying in front of Brahmaji. And she was accompanied by Indra and all the other devatas, because even the devatas are concerned that the human civilization should be oriented towards developing spiritually, towards serving Lord Vishnu. When the civilization turns away, even the devatas become concerned. The devatas also accompanied Mother Earth. And when Brahmaji saw this, he said, this is a very grave problem. It's a very problem of great concern. Let us approach Lord Vishnu and seek a solution from him. So saying, Lord Brahma led all the devatas and Mother Earth and went to the ocean of milk where Kshirodakasaya Vishnu, Paramatma, is lying on Ananta. And situated on the banks of that ocean of milk, Brahmaji started meditating. And the devatas all started worshipping Lord Vishnu, praising Lord Vishnu with the Purusha Sukta prayers. The Purusha Sukta prayers are found in the Vedas. They glorify Lord Vishnu. The devatas, in order to invoke the grace, invoke the blessings of Lord Vishnu, they started chanting Purusha Sukta. And Lord Brahmaji started meditating on Lord Vishnu. And then, from within his heart, Brahmaji heard Lord Vishnu instructing him on how he would solve this problem that the devatas and Mother Earth had brought before Lord Vishnu. Lord Vishnu informed Brahmaji that very soon the Supreme Lord would appear on earth. So, Lord Vishnu informed Lord Brahma thus: Vasudeva grihe sakshat bhagavan purushaha paraha janishyate tat priyartham sambhavantu surastriyaha. Lord Vishnu informed Brahmaji that Sakshat Bhagavan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead Himself. Please note, not an incarnation, the Supreme Personality of Godhead Himself will take birth in the house of Vasudeva. And therefore, to assist the Supreme Lord in His activities, all the Devatas also should take birth in the Yadava family. And very soon this is going to happen. And the Lord, the Supreme Lord Himself will appear as a son of Vasudeva, and He will re-establish Dharma, and He will annihilate all the demoniac kings. This was the instruction given by Lord Vishnu to Brahmaji in his heart. And then Brahmaji came out of his meditation, and then he informed all the Devatas and Mother Earth that we have great reason for joy now. The Supreme Lord Himself is going to come, not just another incarnation. The Supreme Lord personally is going to come, and all the Devatas and their women folk should all take birth in the Yadava kingdom to prepare for the Lord's arrival and to assist Him in His activities. This is what happened at the beginning of the Dwapara Yuga. Now we come back to the Yadava king dynasty. After a few generations after the king Yadu came a king called Satvata. The Satvata was also a great devotee of the Supreme Lord. And Satvata had two sons, Andhaka and Vrishni. This Andhaka, after a few generations after him, came a king called Ahuka. And this Ahuka had two sons. The first son was Ugrasena, and this Ugrasena had 9 sons and 5 daughters. And Ugrasena's first son was Kamsa. And on the other side, Ahuka's other son, Ugrasena's brother, had 7 daughters. Now Satvata's another son was Vrishni. A few generations after Vrishni came Shurasena. And this king Shurasena, he had 10 sons and 5 daughters. His 10 sons were headed by Anakadundubi. Anakadundubi was his eldest son. Now Ugrasena's daughters, Kamsa's sisters, they married the younger brothers of Anakadundubi. And Ugrasena's brother, his daughters married Anakadundubi. And this Anakadundubi was none other than the same Vasudeva, as whose son Vishnu had informed Brahmaji that the Supreme Lord Himself is going to appear as his son. And the brother of Ugrasena was Devaka, and Devaka's daughters were headed by Devaki. And this Devaki married Vasudeva. That is how they became the parents of the real hero of the Mahabharata, which is Lord Krishna. In fact, in the description in the Srimad Bhagavatam of the various kinds of incarnations, like we have discussed earlier, Leela Avataras, Yuga Avataras, Guna Avataras, Purusha Avataras, there is a list of almost 22 incarnations which is given in the Srimad Bhagavatam, and it mentions that this is just a broad list of the incarnations of the Supreme Lord. The actual number of incarnations of the Supreme Lord are uncountable, are innumerable. And in the list of the incarnations, the Purusha Avataras, the various Vishnu incarnations, the Leela Avataras like Narasimha, Meena Avatara, Varaha Avatara, all these things are described. Lord Krishna is also described there. And then, after describing all the incarnations, the Bhagavatam says, Etecha Amshakalaha Pumsaha. All these 22 incarnations that have been described, they are all expansions or plenary portions or portions of the plenary portions of the Supreme Lord. But then Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. But Krishna is not an incarnation. Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead Himself. Just like Vishnu had informed Brahmaji, Sakshat Bhagavan Vasudeva Grihe. The Supreme Lord Himself will appear in the house of Vasudeva as the son of Vasudeva. Therefore, Krishna is not an incarnation. He is the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself. He is Swayam Bhagavan. This is what the scriptures have informed us, have revealed to us. And all incarnations, whether it is the Purusha Avataras, Leela Avataras, Lord Vishnu, Lord Ramachandra, Narsimha, Vamana, all the incarnations are coming from Lord Krishna ultimately. Lord Krishna is the fountainhead of all incarnations. Now, this is a description of the entire Yadava dynasty. Now, in the Yadava dynasty, the father of Vasudeva, Shurasena, he had a cousin brother. And this cousin brother of Shurasena did not have any children. He was issueless. Therefore, he requested Shurasena that you have got so many sons. Your next child, whoever is there, you please give it to me. I would like to rear that child as my own. And so, to Shurasena was born one girl child. And this girl child, Shurasena handed over to his cousin brother, saying that you take care of this child. And that cousin brother very happily took that child and started rearing her as his own daughter. And this daughter of Shurasena, who was being taken care of by her foster father, who was the cousin brother of Shurasena, she grew up to become one of the central characters of Mahabharata. Who was this daughter of Shurasena and what was the role she had to play in Mahabharata? Please join us in our next episode to know about this. Thank you for joining us today. Hare Krishna. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol.